Welcome to ResponseABLE Parenting, the podcast that shows you how to parent in alignment to your emotions, needs, and goals versus your programming, bad advice, and let's face it, outdated strategies that just don't work. You'll get in the trenches support on nervous system and emotional regulation, critical mindset shifts, stronger communication strategies, and more. In this podcast, you'll gain transformational tools that take you from reacting to every frustration to responding with clarity, regulation, and finally setting the example you desire for your kids. I'm Becky Jennings, your new parenting coach, and this is the ResponseABLE Parenting podcast. Let's get into it. After this episode, you are going to feel so much calmer. This is a beautiful conversation with Kira Willey, who is an award-winning children's music artist, author, and mindfulness expert who has spent the last 20 years helping children feel calm, confident, and connected. She has 7 children's albums that have won multiple Parents' Choice Gold Awards, ASCAP's Children's Songwriting Awards. She has several books. Her book, Breathe Like a Bear, became an international bestseller published in 17 languages, followed by Peaceful Like a Panda. And her newest book, which we'll be talking about on this episode, is The Joyful Child. And it gives parents playful ways to bring more calm and connection to everyday life. Listening to Kira will automatically make you calmer, but you will learn some incredible strategies to really support yourself and your child through those toughest moments. So without me yapping any further, let's get into this episode. Welcome back to another episode of ResponseABLE Parenting. You know I love my guests, and this is going to be such a good one for you all because I've noticed that through and through, across the board, whenever I'm talking to parents, and they absolutely know in their bones that they need to access play, they need to get down on their level, but the frustration inside of our bodies, the residual anger, not having enough space to recover from event to event to event, it just doesn't allow us to tap into that. So Kira and I are talking, and we had to hit record because we were already talking, but today she's going to share her incredible wealth of knowledge on how we can tap back into movement, music, song, and play with our kids to be so much more effective. So welcome, Kira. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I love it. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you, how you got into this, and we'll dive in.
Yes, I'm a musician first. I've been a classically trained violinist since I was 5 and started teaching music and teaching children's yoga and mindfulness. And it just became, I became really passionate about children's well-being through mindful practices that incorporate movement, music, and play. And so that's what I'm all about, is helping parents and educators understand that daily routines can be more joyful, feel more connected, and be more calm when we bring in these mindful practices that are rooted in the things that children naturally love and naturally engage with. Imagination, play, music, movement, rhythm, wiggling, singing, dancing, right? These are all ways we can connect with children where they naturally live. And if we weave in moments of this, it doesn't need to be, an hour at a time. It's not quantity of time, it's quality of the connection. These small, joyful moments of connection can completely transform your daily routines and the atmosphere in your home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I could tell a couple days ago that my son was a little bit off. He had a really rough night's sleep. This is my ADHD son. He just struggled so hard to go to sleep. And he woke up the next morning and I was like, you never know. You're like, is this going to be a good day? Is this going to be a rough morning? How defensive is he going to be? Or are we going to kick off in a fight early? And so I put a little sticky note on my chest and it said, push button. And he was like, what am I doing? I'm like, I don't know, just push the button. And I pretended to turn into a robot. And I was like, for the next 5 minutes, you get to tell me what to do. And it was, for him, power and control and all of that is so fun. Unfortunately, there are times where he doesn't have that access to that. And so he'll flex in a really inopportune time and we'll get into a power struggle. And so I've allowed for the first 5-10 minutes of his morning to just be full hands on deck, doing the silliest things. He made me put on all the old 5T clothes that no longer fit, and I had to do all these silly things. And the thing that I noticed about that is I used to do that when he was 3, 4, 5 years old. He's 9 now. And I was I second guessed myself for a moment. I was like, is he going to really still want to do this. And at 9, he was more creative and it was even more impactful because he understood the concept that, he was just ready and primed to do it. So I think sometimes we forget that even these bigger kids still need this. Can you
Oh
talk
my
about like
gosh.
talk
Yeah.
about like how the elementary or like older elementary school kids, like how can we tap into play with them? Like they want their screens
Of
more than
course.
they want us. So how do we kind of move them back into that really connected play? What are some of your
Mm.
techniques?
First of all, I saw those photos on your Instagram and it was hilarious with you with the hat and the clothes on. So that was fabulous. And thank you for sharing because it was
Um,
absolutely brilliant.
That's so
Yes.
funny.
So when our children are infants or toddlers, we spend lots of time playing. We're singing, we're clapping with them, we're being goofy, we're putting on silly faces and accents and hats and all the things. And somehow as they get a little bit older, we think maybe because they're in third, fourth, fifth grade, that's not what we do anymore. Children don't outgrow play. We never outgrow play. None of us should ever outgrow play, right? It's a good and healthy thing for all of us. And just because they do want to be on their screens, honestly, sometimes children want you to take them away and they don't know how to say it because they're kind of just attached, right? Doesn't mean they don't want to connect with you in that way. But it starts with you reconnecting with it in yourself. So the first step is finding your center and finding, your sense of groundedness and whatever you need to do there. You have lots of techniques to do this. I have lots of techniques to do this in my new book. Whether that's going into the bathroom and putting your hands on the cool sink and taking a few long, deep breaths, whether that's doing a straw breath where you make your mouth into a little shape of an O and taking a few deep breaths in and out, finding your center. Then it's remembering the joy you had within when you were a child. What did you love to do? Did you love to dance around kitchen, make up dance routines? Right? Right? Did you love to play, make blocks? Did you love to do cartwheels? Did you love to play army? Whatever it was. Try to find that in yourself first before you connect with your child because they'll sense it in you. What a wonderful thing to model is that you still value seeking out that joy and that sense of play just for play's sake, just
Yeah.
for the fun of it, right?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
was listening to something a couple days ago, and it was like it said something about how easy it is to time travel when you throw on music from your teenage years or from your,
Yes.
and it is something I find music like I'm not the biggest music junkie. My husband owns that part in the house. Like he is
Mhm.
music all the way. Um, but I found that sometimes I'm really, and this is fairly normal, I would assume, but like when you're in a loop of anger and frustration, it's
Mm.
almost like you're like, I'm not gonna help myself in this moment. I'm going to stay in this moment because I am angry and I deserve to be angry because I was
We
just
dig in our
wrong.
heels, don't we?
We
Yeah, we just dig
dig
them right in.
in. We dig
Yeah.
in. And then we wonder why our kids do it. But something that I find to be extremely effective and quick is throwing on, 90s, early 2000s music that I used to love to dance to. And whether I'm cooking, whether I'm cleaning, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, it almost instantaneously sends me back to the time where things were less stressful. Things were more like the world was anything that I could explore. And even if I'm dancing or just listening to it, it does allow me to tap back into that. Music is that beautiful way of doing that.
It has such power. So musical memories are more durable in our brains than other kinds of memories. That's
So
why
interesting.
people with memory problems or with dementia have a hard time remembering what they ate for breakfast, but they can sing their wedding song. They still remember. Those memories stick in the brain and the associations stick in your brain. So that's why when you put on a song that you listened to when you were footloose and fancy free in high school, takes you right back to that time, just like that, right? And it has such power in our brain too, it releases dopamine and oxytocin and all these good feelings, right? So when you put on the right song, you're essentially creating the vibe that you want in your house. You're the DJ, right? You can decide what you want the vibe to be. And so you can use music as a tool to create the atmosphere you want in your home. It's just a really, really powerful tool.
I started the program with Becky because I have and had difficulties at home with my 6-year-old. He was very triggered by something, and then I got triggered by that, and it all went together and gave a big explosion. just after 1 week of Becky's program, also participating in the calls, in the group calls that she offers. And just through the way she's presenting the information, I've already done a lot of work on this topic, but I had a total breakthrough. We are progressing so much at home, and things are getting lighter. I'm feeling more connected to my son, understanding more what's going on with myself, have tools to deal with that. I really feel seen and heard by Becky. And like one of the first things she wrote when we were in personal contact on Instagram is that you're not alone with this. And there was a lot of shame for me on that topic, that me as a mother, I'm not able to handle the situation. It was a great relief to see that in short time, in a few days, now I think in the 3rd week of the program, I've managed changes that I've been trying to achieve for a very long time, for 2 years or so. I'm very happy, and I wish the same for you.
So say you're in a pinch and you don't have any
Mm.
access to a phone or, or a speaker system or whatever. Walk us through how you use music, maybe even making up songs or using rhythm to motivate your child when you see maybe a power struggle looming or they're really resisting a transition.
So a great thing to do to avoid a power struggle when you're saying the same set of instructions over and over and over and over again is put those to a melody, right? Just put them to a melody. Literally sing whatever you would say, sing it instead. And a really easy way to do this is to come up with a traditional tune that you know, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, right? Which is the same tune as the ABC song or Baa Baa Black Sheep. It's all the same tune, right? And put your instructions to that melody because you know it already. So now you don't have to think of a melody or any other song, You Are My Sunshine or something like that. Just sing them. And just that novelty alone will make your child go, what's, the engagement will be there because it's such a new thing. Also, music there's more blood flow happening in the brain when children are listening to and processing music than when they're just listening to speaking, and the auditory processing part of the brain is lit up. With music, with its complexity of rhythm and tempo and all of that, more oxygen's flowing to the brain. They're literally primed to listen better. Plus, it's way more fun. And if you don't want to come up with a melody, use rhythm. Rhythm, which is the most basic building block of music, right? Has a symmetry and an organization to it that is very regulating in our bodies. So just clapping a beat and keeping it steady and putting your words to a beat. You gave a great example earlier. I'd love to hear that one again.
Oh, yeah.
Let's hear it. That was so
Yeah,
good.
before we hit record, I was talking about how my son was resisting brushing his teeth, and then he was, he gets, and this tends to be like an ADHD defensive mechanism, is the anger comes out real quick. Even if like I haven't provoked or done anything, he's like, I'm doing it, and you're like, okay, and that can bring up all these storylines of disrespect, and my nervous system can get escalated. And, we work really hard to maintain our composure. And sometimes you're just like, I can feel myself getting to the point of I'm going to explode. And so I tapped into this unknowingly, but I started saying, practice doing the right thing, practice doing the right thing. And he started shaking his shoulders and, snapping his fingers. And so we both together, and almost like Soul Train, kind of like a conga line in like a wedding. We started
Yes.
walking down the hallway doing the same thing together. And I was following him and he was following me, and we were just jiving, practice doing the right thing. And then he was like moving his hips and moving his shoulders, putting the toothpaste on the thing. But it triggered something in him that it was like, mom's no longer a threat. This no longer needs to be a power struggle. And I have found more often than not, if I can tap into that instead of jumping to a lecture, instead of correcting them, because with ADHD kids, oh my God, you have hundreds of opportunities within an hour to correct them. And what I tend to do if I'm starting to feel like this is we're moving down that path where this is going to be a correction filled day, I do always try to add some sort of music or rhythm to it, because then he's very into music. He's very smart in that capacity. And so he's like, wait, now we can have fun. And it sparks that little dopamine that he's seeking. He's seeking it in terms of conflict. Like that's how he knows he can, he used to know he could consistently access that dopamine through conflict. And it's not working for him anymore because we're not giving in. And so we do it
Not taking the bait. Mm-hmm.
yes, yes. And so we do a lot more of the like sort of rhythmic dancing. Like if he's kind of trying to slap at us, we're like, ooh, and kind of do like a little dance or shuffle or something like that. And he enjoys it. He enjoys it a lot. And so I think we forget this is such a tool that we can use. It's not being permissive. It's not being passive. We're
No.
not allowing the behavior. We're actually tapping into their desires to connect with us. And we're tapping into that really like that it activates the amygdala in a really positive way. It associates the positive behavior in a great way. And it changes the way that it changes the way they learn the whole thing. And I love that.
Yeah.
You talk about 60 seconds to calm. I'd love for you to tap into that. Can you share your little trick there?
60 seconds. Did you have a specific exercise or just in general that it can only take 60 seconds?
Just in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a study done recently in young children. It was actually the first of its kind in young children that showed that only 4 long, deep breaths can significantly affect their stress physiology. Meaning if you can get a child to take 4 long, deep breaths, you're really going to calm that amygdala down that you're talking about, bring their nervous system back online, so to speak. So if we can do this in kid-friendly ways that they love to engage with because they're concepts that are rooted in play and imagination, we're golden, right? And we can weave these throughout the day. Now we're teaching them self-regulation and keeping it rooted in play. So for example, at bedtime, a wound-up child, imagine you're a bear hibernating for the winter. Can you get in your cozy cave? And you tuck them into their cozy cave. When bears hibernate, they take long, slow, deep breaths in and out through their noses. Can you take a long breath in through your nose and out? And you do that a few more times and you say, feel how relaxed and safe and warm you are in your cozy cave. My youngest loved bear breath at bedtime. It was all about getting in the cozy cave. He didn't even think about the long, deep breaths. They were just part of being a bear in a cozy cave. But after 4, 5, 6 of those long, deep breaths, and it takes less than 60 seconds, his nervous system is calm. His body says, okay, it's time to wind down now. It's time to prepare for rest and sleep. And there are so many kid-friendly and fun ways to do this, and I have more than 75 of them in the book, that are so easy and fun and that kids love to engage with. And so it really doesn't take long to bring them. I think people have this idea of mindfulness and meditation with children of being time-consuming or labor-intensive or sitting on a cushion with our eyes closed and deep breathing. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't need to be that. It can be active and fun and based in play and be really quick and be effective.
I love that. I love that. Speaking of bedtime, because I know that seems to be like the joy of all joys for everybody. We're at our, my husband was on the phone with a client at like 7:30 last night. And he's like, I got to get off the phone because I'm at the race to the finish line. And I'm like, that's how we view it, right? It's like the race to the finish line. And so the energy we're coming into bedtime is like, guys, we got to get this done. Like we just got to get this done. So if you don't mind sharing some of your like tips, like I always tend to notice that my kids like to ramp it up a little bit before bedtime, get all of those extra things out. So I like to give them, 15 minutes of kind of aggressive play so they can get a lot of that out. Can you speak to that a little bit about how that's helpful in terms of adding that actually into a bedtime routine?
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive to have big movement or shaking or, gross motor activity at bedtime, but it does actually help the children get that pent up excess energy and tension out of the body. So shaking is a great one. Imagine you're a puppy. You just had a bath. You're all wet. You need to shake, 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 little puppy. Shake faster and faster and faster and faster, and then incorporate like a freeze, right? And then a few long, deep breaths. Follow the leader is a great one. You let them start. You follow them, just like you were talking about how you did with your son in the morning. Do whatever they want for a couple of minutes. Then it's your turn. You start stomping like a dinosaur, and then you march, and then you end by tiptoeing quietly and softly into bed. So you want to meet the energy where it is, because fighting with the energy that's there isn't going to get you anywhere. So when you meet the energy where it is, you have the dance party, you shake like the wet puppy, you try a balance challenge like a flamingo. you play follow the leader and march, start stomping like dinosaurs and work your way to sort of calmer animals. You're taking the energy where you need it to go, but you're not fighting it at the outset. And so, yes, having this big movement leading to our bedtime can really help just set the stage for the body to wind down and be ready for rest.
Yeah, something that we've found to be super. We have both boys, and so the energy is a tad different, I'm assuming, from having girls as well. But we do a lot of like almost like workouts beforehand. So like
Yeah.
we'll do like wheelbarrow races, we'll do like push-up contests, we'll do like dodgeball. We'll like physically have like a dodgeball game going in their room.
Oh my
So
gosh, I love it.
yeah, or we'll have like, we have the basketball hoop on the back of the door, or we'll have like a quick round of horse or something like that as well. And that seems to also be really, really helpful for them to just like get that last and final bit out.
Yeah, and something else a lot of children like my boys did when they were little is deep pressure, right? Wrap them up like a burrito really tight. Of course, as long as they want to and they can move, deep pressure in the joints, like kind of like I'm going to give you a massage or a rub or a bear hugs, rocking, like whatever kind of motion. And different children respond to different kinds of motion. I had one child who just loved rocking. They just wanted to rock all the time. So even if I wasn't in a rocking chair and I was just sitting, I'd be rocking like this.
Yeah.
I felt like I rocked for about 8 years, and then I had another child who just loved that deep, deep pressure, that wrapping me up tight, tuck the blankets in tight, hug me really tight. Just that input is what their body needed. So you might have to play a little bit, experiment with what works for your child. But there are lots of ways that movement, and I love the wheelbarrow races. That's a great idea because that's giving them really good.
So much pressure.
Yeah, so much. The load, right? The input to hold up their own body weight is so great. And it does seem counterintuitive, but when you wind it down, maybe you follow it then with some sort of yoga-based movement or some stretches or that tiptoe into bed to kind of gradually take the energy where you need it to go.
Yeah. What would you say to the parent who's like, oh, I tried that, and then it was an hour later because they were all wound up? How do we transition? Like you're saying, like we're doing all this fun stuff, but then they're like, no, I want more. I want more. I want more. Especially with ADHD kids, it's like there cannot be they keep asking for more and more. They're never satiated, and they always just want to, please, just a little bit more, a little bit more. So say you've done the 10 minutes of wheelbarrow racing, or you've done the 10 minutes and you're starting to kind of be like, okay, I've done my part. Come on, kid. How
I'm ready for the couch. Yes.
I'm ready for the couch, right?
Yes. Oh, totally.
When they give you that resistance, it's, we can tap back into, okay, now I have to clearly be tough and firm and authoritative. And that didn't, quote unquote, didn't work. So what would you say would be like the next progression if you have a child who's resisting getting out of that?
First, check in with yourself, right? Because the instant it starts to get to that power struggle, when that wall goes up, I'm the parent, you're the child, you're going to do right? They sense it so fast. And now you're in a power struggle, right? So check yourself. And this is why it's really important to do things like, if you can, get yourself ready for bed first, or get into your cozies. Make sure you've eaten your dinner and didn't leave it cold on the counter and come up to do the bedtime routine. Right? Honestly, I mean, I used to be like, well, I'm going to do bedtime. I'll see you in an hour and a half, and I guess I'll eat that, that kind of mindset. And I wouldn't take care of myself. And the resentment starts to build in when it's been your 10 minutes of wheelbarrow racing. You're like, I need to go downstairs and eat my dinner now because so check yourself first is the first thing, because that will enable you to not put that wall up so fast and not get it into snap right back into drill sergeant mode, and keep it rooted in play. Right? Adjust the game, put on the slower music to tiptoe to or to dance to, change the movements, say, we're going to try this really challenging yoga pose and make it a balance pose, but then it comes down to a child's pose. Keep it rooted in play as long as you're able. But I'm not going to sit here and say it's not a challenge. Bedtime was one of my biggest challenges for years, and an extremely sensitive child with terrible, crippling separation anxiety. I mean, it was a disaster that unfolded at a glacial pace for several years. Really, it was.
I have that child as well.
Yes. And so, I mean, hours and hours upstairs at bedtime. It was very, very hard. So I am not going to say that it's not a challenge, because it is. I get it.
Yes.
And so the more that you can keep yourself grounded and centered, the by far the better off you'll be, because the best gift you can give to the situation is that centered version of yourself.
Yeah. And that just sparked a memory in me, my child who struggles with separation anxiety as well. It's getting much better, but in the beginning it was, whew, that was rough. But something, that I teach my clients, one of the ways to regulate is humming or accessing the vagus nerve through the letter V, or just,
Yes.
making some sort of, and intuitively, when we were rocking a baby, we'd be humming to the baby, and it would create that sense of calm within us and calm within them. And so I remember this was a particularly challenging night. We'd done all of the progressive things, and it was just like, ugh, why won't this work? And he's crying, and he's just, Mommy, don't leave, don't leave, don't leave. And so part of the way that I decided to calm my body down, because I could feel myself escalating, was I just started making the sound of the letter V, right? I just kept an inhale, and then I'd exhale with the V. I'd inhale and I'd exhale with the V. And he put his hand on my chest, and he could feel
The
it,
vibration. Yeah.
the vibration. And within a few minutes, he had, calmed down, and I could see the kind of the whites of his eyes rolling back. But it was like, okay, I really needed to focus on my regulation, and humming a tune, making that sound. It helped me, but he immediately, I could feel his energy shift as well. And so it's not easy. These are those moments. And sometimes you actually do have to walk away, scream into a pillow, come back
100%.
and try again,
Yeah.
because, there are some kids that it does take an hour, and it can be really, really hard. But what we're sharing here are the ways that we can continue to build, an environment that really sets them up for the biggest amount of success, that sets the table for what we're really working towards, which is that safety, that independence, that feeling like I can actually go to bed all on my own, and I'm
Right.
safe, because we've done this. We put in the reps.
Right.
It's every single time when bedtime ends with screaming and shouting and slamming doors and being like, I'm done, it's go to bed. We've all been there, and it's awful, and
It's horrible.
it's horrible. And we go to bed feeling guilty, and we vow that we'll never do it again like that, only to find ourselves really frustrated the next night. And so, these are incredibly valuable tools, incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
And there's still tools that we need to practice and build the muscle memory. And they also need to trust that this is the new norm, that this just isn't a one-off.
Yeah. These are skills. They're skills like playing the piano or kicking a soccer ball. You need to practice them, right? You don't just try them once, but you need to develop a toolbox, right? Because one might work one night, or might stick, or take one night and not the next. But that co-regulation piece is so important. Like you talked about discovering the V, right? Humming is great. I actually just read a study the other day about the power of humming to stimulate the vagus nerve. But there are lots of tools like that. So the more that we can cultivate a toolbox with a variety of tools, because our calm is contagious. What a beautiful thing that you started to make that sound. Your son felt the vibration. That co-regulation is a beautiful thing, right? Even just sitting near an upset child and modeling long, deep breaths and stillness can start to bring your child's upsetness down. The co-regulation is really powerful. Our child's nervous systems are designed to sync with ours. And so again, the biggest gift we can give our children is that presence of mind to find our own center. And it doesn't mean we're going to be Zen. It doesn't mean we're not going to feel the full range of human emotions. It does mean we have a little bit more equanimity, a little bit more clarity to deal with what is happening now, right? It does not make the problems all go away, but when we have a little bit more capacity to deal with them because we've cultivated these tools, everybody's better off.
Absolutely. What would you say to the parent who is out of the quote unquote play stage with their kid? They're maybe a preteen, maybe even a teenager, and they're still struggling with this. How do you tap into their version of play? Because a lot of the time their quote unquote play is with friends or on a device, and they don't really want to engage with us in that way, even though when they do, they fully, like, they get it, like you can
Right.
see the
Yes.
shift when like an
Yeah.
older kid is actually playing with their parents. But what would you say are some age appropriate, maybe teenager, preteen play based strategies for these kids?
Yeah. For that age, I find you need to connect with what they're into. And if that means you need to learn about Minecraft and talk about Minecraft, then that's what it means, right?
Yeah.
Right? And been there, absolutely. Even though it kind of makes me seasick to follow the little guy around the screen.
I
But
agree.
it's connecting with them with what they're into. That's what is so important. Listening, finding out what it is, asking questions, and then zipping it and listening. Right? It's less about finding, the rhythm activity or the song or the game or the pretending to be a bear, because they're past that developmentally. But it's about really getting curious about what they're into and connecting with them on that level, right? Tell me more, and asking at a time when you can sit there and be quiet and listen, and you don't have your phone in your hand, and you're not really trying to do the next thing right away, right? And you're not rushing to this, that. You're just giving them your attention. The two phrases that I say in the book that I have served me to this day with kids are, what else? What else? And just zip it. What else? Right? And for an upset child, what do you need right now? That's not fixing. That's just, what do you need for comfort or support? I mean, and I swear by them with my, when they were 3 to when they're 17. And so it's connecting with them on their level and just having the patience, whether or not you're interested in the video game or the lacrosse or whatever it is, to listen and be with them, where they are and with what lights them up.
Yeah. Bonus points. Go do a teeny bit of research on what they like. So you can
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you
Yeah.
so you can kind of drop a little bit of knowledge, and that might be enough of a shockwave that you're not this unwise or uncool parent, and you
I was just
sort of
reading
know.
about mixed martial arts, and let me tell you what I heard.
Yeah. Is that true? Is that what you do?
Yeah, exactly.
Or like, oh man, I'm such a noob at Minecraft. Can you show me what to do?
Yeah, that's the other thing, is ask them to teach you. So glad you brought that up. Show me how to do this. I would love to build one of those cool houses, and show me how to get to the nether or whatever it's called in Minecraft. But then they light up like, oh my gosh, I'd love to show you. 2 hours later, you're sitting.
2 hours later. Absolutely. We're like cross-eyed and nauseous.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Kira, where can everybody find you on socials? Where can they get your book?
Yeah, the book, thejoyfulchildbook.com. You can find me at kirawilley.com, all about me, and follow me on Instagram. I'm there a lot, and I share lots of tips and rhythm games and songs and all kinds of good stuff. So I'd love to connect with you there.
Well, thank you so much. As always, everybody, thank you for being here this week. If this was a podcast that you found super helpful, share it with a mom or dad who really needs these strategies, would really feel supported in the bedtime, in the routines where we constantly find ourselves in power struggles. This is definitely a really helpful mindset shift with tons of tools as well. So definitely share this out to your friends. All right. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to the ResponseABLE Parenting Podcast. If you like what you heard, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. If you know someone who would benefit from this podcast, I'd be honored if you'd share this episode with them. Until next time, know that you are enough, you are capable, you've made it through all of your hardest days, and we will keep growing on this parenting journey together. This podcast was produced by Kim Kelty and myself, Becky Jennings, and edited by the Kelty Method, Branding and Podcasting.